Earlier, we spoke to the Deputy Chairperson of the Municipal Demarcation Board, Ashraf. We began by asking him about the latest on the public hearings.
Well, you know, the Demarcation Board concluded the boundary determinations towards the end of 2013. But in terms of Section 22 of the Municipal Demarcation Act, the Minister, after consulting the provincial ministers, is able to request the board to look at some boundaries again. And in doing so, he has to set the time limit or the time frames, and he chose that it be done before the next local government elections in 2016. And he also has to set priorities in terms of the Act. And what he's done in terms of setting those priorities is asked us to look at the outcomes of the Back to Basics study that had been undertaken by the Department of Cooperative Governance. And so whether it is politically motivated or not, you know, it's not for us as the Demarcation Board to second guess anyone's intentions. We simply act in terms of the law.
But what is the criteria you're using to collapse and merge this municipalities? Because others, as you would know, there's a challenge of delivery of services, capacity, yet you then collapse them into you know, another municipality which may be experiencing problems itself.
Yeah, that's a fair point, and that is why we tested all the cases and requests that we got from the Minister in terms of Section 26 of the Act, where we made it and we publicized the fact that we had received these requests. And it's on that basis that you mentioned 400 submissions. It's on that basis that submissions were received, and we decided to, on the one hand, proceed with public meetings in terms of Section 28, or in some cases not to proceed at all, and in other cases to proceed with some detailed investigation. So, you know, there is certainly a view that, you know, amalgamating some municipalities will just heighten the problem. But from our point of view, we still have to collect the information, and we're busy with the studies at the moment.
And what will happen to the liabilities of some of these municipalities? Are they then going to be taken over by the new establishment?
Yeah. You see, in terms of the Act, the municipality, the Demarcation Board simply establishes the boundaries of the municipality. The actual detail of establishing a municipality with respect to the debt, the staff, the loans, the grants, service delivery, in terms of how service delivery will happen, those are things that the relevant MECs have to deal with. Okay.
Would this have happened had there been no Malamulele?
Again, I can't speak for the Minister in terms of this round, but the board is constantly re-looking at boundaries for several reasons. And you know, as I said, we closed the process at the end of 2013, towards the end of 2013. So whether Malamulele had happened or not, you know, and whether Malamulele had an impact on this round, I can't say. I mean, that's really a question you need to ask the Minister. Okay. But as I said, the Minister is within his right to ask us to relook at municipal boundaries. And who outside of our own work program?
Okay, who is making the submissions? Yes, we've mentioned 400, but the caliber of submissions that are being made there, who are they coming from?
Oh, they're coming from different quarters. We're getting some from government, getting some from local government. When I say government, I mean, you know, MECs might have made some comment. We've got from civic organizations, we've got from political organizations, we've got from ordinary members of the public. Some municipalities would have made submissions. So it's a wide spectrum of submissions that we've received.
And would you say that...
And we take all that...
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and we take all that into consideration before determining the next step.
This is where I wanted to get to, in that given those submissions that you have received, what guarantee does Mpho in Malamulele have that his voice is going to be heard or considered in this process?
Well, I think that in this context, bearing in mind that we've received several requests from the minister which span several provinces, I think it's a bit unfair to focus on Malamulele as a particular example, because it affects not only Malamulele but municipalities in many parts of the country. How do people get protected? Well, people get protected in several ways. One, they have the right to make submissions, and we've now received those submissions. We have in the process of engaging in public meetings in terms of Section 28 of the Municipal Demarcation Act. Then if the Municipal Demarcation Board decides to proceed and make boundary changes, then it has to go back to those communities to engage around this kind of stuff. And then, of course, there's the legislation that requires us to publish the information, go to radio stations and all that kind of stuff. So there's quite a lot of engagement that members of the public, rights of engagement that members of the public have with respect to municipal demarcation. And as you know, in the past, people have gone to court as well.
Yes, and I would imagine government's concern is service delivery.
Yes.
Do you really believe that what you are doing is going to improve service delivery, or is that one of the areas where you don't really play any part?
Yeah. Paul, I think you need to just recall that what the board is doing at this point in time is undertaking investigations. We are not determining boundaries. Whether boundaries are to be determined will be decided once the studies have been concluded, once the investigations have been concluded. And the Act requires us to look at service delivery as one of the aspects when determining municipal boundaries. So it is premature to conclude that the board is actually has actually decided to alter boundaries at this stage, based on the request from the minister.
But I'll give you an example. The ANC in Limpopo decided that they're going to collapse several municipalities. That decision has been taken. So who are you in as far as the ANC is concerned? If they have taken a decision, don't you think you are bound, therefore, to do what they have decided at their conference?
Well, the board reports to Parliament and doesn't report to any political party or any interest group. So what decisions people make outside of the demarcation process, which is a legislative process, is of course their rights in terms of the democratic milieu that we're in. But the demarcation board has the final say on boundaries, and that final say is communicated. People do have the right, and based on submissions we receive, the Act requires us to review, to rescind or amend some of our decisions. So once that process is concluded, MECs will then have to implement. But as I said, it's completely premature at this stage to assume that that every request that the minister has made to us in terms of Section 22 is going to be acceded to. We don't know. I don't know as I'm sitting here.
But then, as I was saying, what happens to a decision which the ANC has taken in its conference in Limpopo, where they are saying we are going to dissolve these municipalities? What are you doing then?
Well, they're entitled to make those requests and submissions to the board. In 2013, we concluded the outer boundary process based on submissions received. Okay. Firstly, and secondly, the minister has the right, as we've discussed. So okay. Outside of those two processes, no other interest group, no other person has the right to request us to look at boundaries between now and the next election.
That was the Deputy Chairperson of the Municipal Demarcation Board, Ashraf Adam, talking to us about the ongoing public hearings on redetermination of municipal boundaries.